Welcome, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. It's week 6 of the Rutgers Football Podcast. Chris Carlin and Eric LeGrand with you, as always. We're brought to you by our friends at RWJ Barnabas Health, the official healthcare provider of Rutgers Athletics. I'm getting ready for Thanksgiving on Thursday, and I know that a lot of us are somewhat isolated, but that does not mean I am not going to get my money's worth.
I know that's right there, Chris. We already got our strategy on how we're going to do Thanksgiving, but like you said, don't get your money, then you get your money's worth with the food.
It is not a holiday to get cheated. That is for sure. Let's talk about the game this past week. It was a heartbreaker to lose in triple overtime to Michigan, 48-42. What were the things that you looked at from a Rutgers perspective, both positive and things they need to improve upon moving into the rest of the season at this point as we have passed the halfway mark?
Well, I'll start out with the negative side because there's a lot of actually positives from this. The negative side I saw from this is still the penalties. You look at how many and the yards that they give up and just the opportunities, either drive killers or extending drives for the other team and one of the overtimes and the defensive pass interference on a 3rd and 18 or whatever it was. And, stuff like that. Those are the killers, the ones that that crush you. But the positives from this, obviously, you see what Noah Vedral was able to do, throwing the ball all over the yard. That was very impressive. Being able to drive down the field, score, the grittiness, going for a QB draw to tie the game up on a 2-point conversion. And you see the whole offensive lineman pulling them in. Like, that's the stuff that you build on. And having opportunities to win a game. Obviously, they missed a field goal in the first overtime, but that was an opportunity to win the game. So it's not like they didn't have their opportunity. So there was just so much positives to see from it. Shaheem Jones having a come out day. Bo Melton. It wasn't just having to rely on, Isaiah Pacheco. There was just so much positive from that, even though the outcome wasn't what we wanted.
Eric, when you look at that situation as a whole at the end of regulation, 4th and 9 from the 11, they find a way to make a play. Noah Vedral finds Aaron Cruikshank in the end zone. Cruikshank goes, makes a play when he needs to make it. And then Vedral, as you said, I think that play probably encapsulated the spirit of this season so far, just from a positivity standpoint of what Rutgers is being able to build. You mentioned it already. Tell me more about players responding to that kind of play, especially when somebody like your quarterback makes it.
Oh, man, it's just the never give up attitude, never die. We're in this all the way until they kick us off the field. We're in this until they kick us off the field. And to trust your quarterback in a play like that, obviously you spread everyone out, and he's been throwing the ball pretty well. And you make a great play on the 4th and 9 where you find Cruikshank in the middle of the end zone for that play. It's like, okay, what do we dial up here? Do we want to go with some trickery? What do we do? And you say, you know what, Coach Gleason, I put the ball in my quarterback's hand to get this done. And when you see on the sideline the whole offensive line carrying the quarterback into the end zone to tie the game up, man, the juices get fly. I'm even just thinking about it right now. The goosebumps. O-lineman getting up, celebrating, punching in the air. Like, even though I hate, as Ray would call them, the big fatties up front, that stuff gives you goosebumps.
Eric, defensively, when you look at what Rutgers was able to do in some spots and then unable to do in others, where is the growth coming from on the defensive side of the ball right now?
I think, they're learning how to play a Greg Schiano, Rob Smith, Bob Frazier defense. You're going to get pressures. You got to know your keys. You got to know your reason, your assignments. The DBs are getting put on a lot of islands, and sometimes they're going to make, obviously in passing in the first place, but you're seeing them growing, learning how to run, lead, and locate, look back at the ball. We always talk about how long it's been where the defensive back actually finally looks back at the ball and makes a play. They're getting there. The thing that, that stood out to me the most, though, was when McNamara came in the game and Rutgers tried to put pressure on him. Initially, we could not get those slot receivers. They just couldn't get that initial, either knock off the ball or we were playing a little bit too far back because he was taking 2-3 steps back and throwing it. 2 steps back, throwing it. 2 steps back, just getting it out real fast. And the coverage just wasn't tight enough and that quick when you have pressure on them to be up in your face, and they were able to find some success there, which is why he came in there and They threw the ball pretty much all over the yard because he got caught up when they came to that. So they got to get a little bit better when they're man coverage, when you're sending pressure.
Eric, it's funny. I've been thinking about how this season has played out a lot, and it reminds me a lot of your freshman year, 2008. And you remember early in the season, Rutgers was doing a lot of good things, but just couldn't quite get over the hump in some of those games. And the start came to a 1-5 beginning to the year, but then against Connecticut at the very end of the game, they were lining up for a game-winning field goal. It went off the upright, and it was a 12-10 Rutgers win, and it was as if the dam broke. And Rutgers reeled off 8 straight. And remember, the following week, they scored 54 in Pittsburgh. It kind of has that feel to it where at any moment, the dam could really break here in getting them over the hump in these games.
That is so true. It's like getting to the point where it's like, you know what? We're almost there. We're like, it's just that little bit extra that we need to get to. And as you said, the ball went up to upright. We won that game. I feel like we are at that point, that crossroads in the middle where it's just something that's going to go the Rutgers Scarlet Knights' way, and they're going to get there. Whether if it's this Purdue game, well, it's 3 games left, and you're hoping it could be in this Purdue game, which is a very, very good, talented team. But just that little extra oomph to go the Scarlet Knight way, I'm glad you brought that up because that changed the whole season.
Tell me about that. From when you remember that season, am I depicting it wrong, or was it just, hey, we need one thing to go our way and we're going to pick up and go? Was that the player mentality at the time?
I think you just need, yes, you need to feel the success. We know how hard we were working week in, week out. And then it just wasn't going our way. And you're just like, what else does it take? And then when you work your butt off still, you keep chopping, and then it does go your way, it's like, okay, now everything that we put out, when we got our confidence back, let's roll. And as you saw, we were able to do that year in 2008. So you hope the Scarlet Knights can do that in the back half of this season.
We'll talk more with the head coach, Greg Schiano, about it in just moments. We're just getting the ball rolling on the Rutgers Football Podcast in just a bit. Eric and I will be joined by defensive lineman Mike Tverdov. Keep it where it is, right here, the Rutgers Football Podcast, presented by RWJ Barnabas Health, the official healthcare provider of Rutgers Athletics. As always, on the Rutgers Football Podcast, the head coach, Greg Schiano, joins us. The coach's interview is brought to you by RWJ Barnabas Health, the official healthcare provider of Rutgers Athletics and New Jersey's most comprehensive health system. To learn more, visit rwjbh.org. Let's be healthy together. Well, Coach, the other night, triple overtime. It was an amazing game. Unfortunately, Rutgers came out on the short end of it. Sure took a lot of energy out of the team. Give me a sense of how the team bounced back Sunday and what you took out of the game against Michigan.
It was a resilient group. I'm proud of the way they continue to work, and they want to get there. They're getting close. The reality is they know. Like this Michigan team, I'll probably say the numbers wrong, but I think it's like 207-21 was the score over the last 4 years. So I think they see that we're improving. Our players do. It's encouraging to them, but it doesn't make the hurt any less, right? So, but what I just keep trying to do is encourage them, encourage the staff that what we're doing is working. But as I also share with them is the other teams have been doing it longer than us. They may be doing it differently, but they've been doing it longer. So hopefully our way can catch us up faster. We just need a little more time to get it. And I hope that this is the week, as we all do, right? You get over that hump and hopefully we can get that win out in West Lafayette. That's our goal.
I was struck by something that we talked about a little bit last week, in particular this past week. We were talking about Coach Gleason's system offensively, but it's an overall coaching philosophy. The idea of making it about playing to the strengths of the players on both sides of the ball. So as I was thinking about that, Coach, I'm curious, when you're coming in and it's a new year and a new situation, you on defense, Rob Smith on defense, him on offense, how long does it take to really evaluate the strengths of your particular players and how you can frame success around them?
That's a great question, Chris. in college football, usually you get 15 spring practices, you get 29 training camp practices. And then after 2 games, you have an idea. And after 4 games, I think you know what kind of team you have. Without spring practice, without training camp, and people say, well, you have practice in September and you had practice in October. You do, but as I've said to you before, it's totally different in training camp. That's the time you make your biggest improvement because there's nothing else going on. There's no school, there's no girlfriends, there's no family issues. Everybody is here. They're in a dorm. They were going every day. We wake up in the morning, it's football. We go to bed at night, it's football. And everything in between, it's football. When you lose that opportunity, I think you lose a chance to really make improvement. So we had to adjust, right? And that's what we did. I think both Rob and Sean have done a good job evaluating what we have and adjusting to, and I think they continue to adjust each week, depending on who's healthy, depending on who's improved. You know, like the one thing that I think fans do sometimes and the media does sometimes is they freeze a player or they kind of label a player as this. And unfortunately, coaches do the same thing. I really try not to do that. I try to keep an open mind and see players for what I think they can become, not necessarily what they're performing at right now.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because I would imagine as a coach, it's hard when you're evaluating a player and you're trying to improve their deficiencies, how to continue to frame what you want to do for the team to be better according to that, while still addressing, hey, you need to get better in this department.
Yeah, there's a lot of balancing acts as a head coach, especially when you have a responsibility. I'm not here to build a season. I'm here to build a program. That's what they hired me to do, right? Rebuild a program. So there's certain decisions that might be better for next week that might not be the best thing for the next 5 years. And you really have to balance that. And that's hard, especially when you have a group of guys that have worked as hard as these guys have, right? Like they've given up so much, not only football and school, but they've given up, you know, being a college student. They've given up seeing their families. They've given up so much that I just can't bring myself to do anything but help them try to win this game, and we'll get the rest caught up. And is that if that's a circumstance, you know, if we're doing something based on circumstance, in this case, I try not to do that in life, but in this case, I think it's warranted.
I know it's maybe not something that a coach would think about a whole lot, but I've read and heard a lot lately about just the culture, how it's changed, but also just the enjoyment that the players really seem to have. Can you see that joy kind of day in and day out, and especially while they haven't gotten the wins yet, the market improvement that they have shown across the board that's undeniable?
Yes and no, because we coach them really hard during the week. You know, what I tell my coaches is during the week, that's when you need to be tough on the players. You need to be demanding. You need to really coach them with tremendous amount of passion. During the game, there's a team on the other side that's trying to kick their head in. You know what I mean? It's a physical game we play. They don't need a coach screaming at them and yelling at them. So on game day, our job is to put them in position to play, help them be better, and help them be able to manage their emotions, manage the whole flow of the game, and continue to coach. But I don't think that's where they need you to be tough on. You know, unless a guy's not playing with effort, which we have not had that. So, you know, it's just my philosophy. I just think the team on the other sides, they do a pretty good job of providing an adversary. You don't need your coach doing the same thing.
You know, NJ.com had a story about just how improved the offense is from a statistical standpoint, and it's miles ahead of other programs in this country. In particular, from the other night, Noah looked like he was very much in control of what was going on, and 2 100-yard receivers in the same game. Pretty impressive. What did you take out of the offense altogether the other night?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. I think Noah played very well. I think he was incredibly disappointed on his second half last week against Illinois. And you could just see the resolve in his eyes, in his preparation. I really felt this was going to be a big game for him. And he came through. I think the receiving core continues to get better. I think it's all as a result of the job that Sean and Taekwon are doing with their guys, and kind of the chemistry that's there between players and coaches. And, you know, it really is something that you love as a head coach to see, because it takes on a life of its own.
We'll get to your questions with Coach Schiano when we come back. Stay with us as the Rutgers Football Podcast continues, presented by RWJ Barnabas Health, the official healthcare provider of Rutgers Athletics. Back on the Rutgers Football Podcast, your opportunity to ask the coach your questions. Okay, let's get to it. These are from Twitter, Coach. First one comes in from Steve, asking about recruiting right now. How it's all going at the moment, and the continued challenges with everything around COVID-19.
Well, I'm excited about the recruiting. Our 21 class is rounding out pretty nicely here. We only have, what's today? Heck, we only have about 3 weeks to let that class signs. And the 22s, I think we're developing great relationships with the 22s and 23s. So, yeah, we're excited. We think, you know how I feel about this area and about the football that's played here. And we have some great relationships with those players and their families. So it is difficult. You know, this 21 class, thank goodness we had a lot of early, quote unquote, junior days and visits, because we were right up to the brink of everything getting shut down. And I think we really benefited from that. Now, this next cycle, you know, recruiting has already been pushed back, the dead period, till April 15th, 21. So I think it was April 15th. Maybe it's March 15th. I don't know. But again, we're going to miss out on an entire recruiting season, December, January. So we're going to have to find alternative ways to do our recruiting. Obviously, WebEx, Zoom, all those things that we already are doing. But I'm talking about like relationships with coaches and relationships with people in different areas. It's not as easy to get all the information we need, because I require my assistant coaches to do a great job of gathering information from everybody in the school, not just coach, not just player, but teachers, guidance counselors, cafeteria people, equipment managers, all those people. We really want to find out who this person is. And without having the ability to go into their high schools, it's really hard to do that.
Next question is from Mark, Coach, who is somewhat asking something along those lines. Are you pleased with the play of the freshmen that have seen game action so far, and in particular, Max Melton, who was somebody that earlier this week during your press conference you singled out as a recruiting coup for your program last year, this past recruiting class?
Well, you know, Max is one that does stand out. He's certainly a talented guy that I think sky's the limit for Max. It's all a matter of how much he wants to commit. And so far, it looks like he does to preparation, to training, to all those things. But I think we have several talented freshmen in this class. And you never know, right? When you sign a class in 3 weeks or less than 2 weeks, 12 days. And then we added some people after, I know that, but you never know. And we're very fortunate, really, and some really great young men too. So it's a great foundation with our first class, and they've really mixed in well with the players that were already in the program. So that's been a good thing.
Don wants to know, Coach, does Olakunle Fatukasi remind you of any player that you had your first time at Rutgers?
No, he reminds me a little bit of Levante David, who I had at Tampa. You know.
How so?
He can run very well, and he's a contact player. I mean, he will put his face on you.
Let's see what else we got here. We've got David, who wants to know, Coach, loved the scarlet on scarlet uniform Saturday night. Who decides what color the team will wear?
Well, I guess ultimately me, Chris, but it's kind of like with my wife and kids. You know, I think I make the decisions. Really, Gilk and our equipment people, they all They all make me, Coach, let's do this. What am I going to say? No. So I did. I thought they looked sharp. I really looked. Night games are so fun. It just looks better at night with the lights and those kids, they were flying around. And so was Michigan's team. It was a really, I wish our fans could have been in the stadium and been there for that game because it had an atmosphere, even though there weren't fans there. I couldn't imagine. That would have been one of those special nights, I believe, at SHI Stadium. But look, as I've said many times, if that's the biggest issue, then we're in pretty good shape. People are losing loved ones, and there's people that are sick. So we're grateful that we actually get to play still.
Finally, Chris wants to know, what is the Greg Schiano go-to Thanksgiving menu item? Is it the turkey, Coach, or is it one of the sides?
Well, Chris, if you've seen my waistline, there's probably not much that I don't enjoy, right? I'm gonna do. We're eating as a team, which is gonna be good. We're all coming together after practice, and we're gonna have a big team dinner. And we're gonna have a lot of great food, and look forward to a lot of great fellowship with the players and coaches. And we're gonna make the best of it, even though we can't be with our families. It'll be a good day.
No go-to for you? There's no sweet potato pie, anything like that?
Yeah, again.
By the way, the Chris asking is me, so.
The Chris asking you, the problem is it's everything, all the above. That's the problem. One of those plates that looks like the guy's going to the electric chair, right? That's the problem.
All right, Coach, Purdue this week. Give us a thumbnail sketch of the Boilermakers and what you're preparing for out in West Lafayette.
Well, I think Jeff Brown does a really good job with his program, with his offense. He's really creative, presents many, many issues. They got Rondell Moore back last week, I guess, and you're talking about an elite performer nationally. This guy's one of the top 5, in my opinion, one of the top 5 players in college football. And to get him back, I was kind of wondering what would happen there. Would he get back before our game or not? But he certainly, when he's playing, you have to have an awareness of where he is because he can hurt you in so many ways. Defensively, I think they're really improved. I think Coach Diaco's doing a great job with the defense. They're doing some really good things. And I think we're going to have our hands full in the kicking game. So on the road in a 3-phase team, it's going to be a big challenge.
Looking forward to it, Coach. Best of luck this week. We'll talk next week.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
We'll have more with Eric in a moment as Mike Tverdov will join us in just a few. Stay with us on the Rutgers Football Podcast presented by RWJ Barnabas Health, the official healthcare provider of Rutgers Athletics. Chris Carlin, Eric LeGrand back on the Rutgers Football Podcast. Pleased to be joined this week by Rutgers senior defensive lineman Mike Tverdov. Mike, happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate the time. How you doing?
Happy Thanksgiving. I appreciate you guys having me. I'm doing great.
Mike, when you look at how this has really evolved this season and the renewed energy that's been around this program, you've been around for a long time. Just tell me about how you have kind of seen it manifest itself among you and your teammates.
There's definitely a different aura around this building, this program, specifically this last year. And, I think guys are really just starting to count on each other and really just learn to buy into the culture that Coach Schiano has built here. And it's not easy to do whatsoever. Eric knows that himself. And, once everybody buys into the program, you start seeing changes everywhere and in every single detail and with everything we do. And it's definitely transformed us into a better football team.
And, Mike, I was excited when I found out we were going to talk to you today because we have talked to players that have had Rutgers' legacy come from, from in the past, like Bo Melton, but someone's brother who played for Coach Schiano, and now you playing for Coach Schiano and growing up Rutgers. Tell us what that was like, growing up, seeing your brother play to now where you are today.
It's been an incredible journey, to be honest. When I was younger, people would ask me, your teachers, what do you want to do when you're older? And a lot of kids would say NBA player, NFL player, but I would say I want to be a Rutgers football player. That was my lifelong dream, and just being able to actually come here and do that. And unfortunately, I didn't have much success my first few years here, but that all changed once Coach Schiano arrived here, and is starting to turn things around for us. And it's like I mentioned earlier, everybody starts buying into our culture and program. You're truly seeing change within, and it's just something that I'm extremely grateful for. And he's definitely an amazing coach, but he's teaching us things that we're going to carry with us for the rest of our lives. And that's something that I think a lot of coaches nowadays don't do. They're too focused on football, but Coach Schiano and his staff focus on transforming us into better young men and to be better people in society. So just being able to be at Rutgers and have a couple years to spend with Coach Schiano is something I'm not going to take for granted, and I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to be the best football player and man that I can be here.
Mike Tverdov, Rutgers senior defensive lineman, joining us this week on the Rutgers Football Podcast. What are your early memories of Rutgers when Peter was here? You're obviously much younger than him, and he played 1 year with Eric, but just tell me about what that was like and the things that kind of stick out to you the most.
I had a lot of great memories, to be honest. I went to all the youth football camps from the 4 years my brother was here. So being around a bunch of star athletes that came through Rutgers, and I went to all the great games, the Louisville game, the USF game, and I just bowl games, Insight Bowl, Texas Bowl, International Bowl. So my family was all in with Rutgers from ever since my brother's been here, and I learned about what family means from a young age because my brother would spend time after me when Rutgers would beat USF, the number 2 ranked team in the nation. And instead of going out partying in New Brunswick, he invited me back to his apartment to hang out with him and spend time with the guys and play video games, So just seeing him make that sacrifice for his little brother, just showed me what this program is all about at a young age. And it's like I said, that's all I ever wanted to be, was to play for Rutgers and to have this opportunity that I have now.
That's pretty cool, man. And we know you're from Union, man, and there's been a Union pipeline that has come through Rutgers, with the Stapleton brothers, your brother, you, and now, I got some recruits now that are already committed to us, and another, hopefully a brother package through that. But what's it like being able to play this close to home and knowing that Union, as you guys represent some great high school football over there? What's that being like, being able to create that pipeline or continue that pipeline, I should say?
It's awesome. Union has a similar culture to we have here at Rutgers. We're all about family there. Putting the team before ourselves. And Coach Grasso is one of my mentors that I have in my life, and he's been there for me since I was a freshman in high school, and he's seen me grow tremendously since I was a 14-year-old kid and to the 22-year-old man I am now. And just having the opportunity to play at Union and to continue my athletic career at Rutgers, just shows that, if you're in Jersey and you're a great football player, you can do it here. You can do it at Rutgers. You don't need to go to Michigan. You don't need to go far away. And that's something that Coach Grasso is preaching to his kids too. And there's so much talent in Union, and it used to go unnoticed, but, we've been having so much success the last few years, specifically because of Coach Grasso and his staff and the way he runs his program. And it's no surprise why they've had so much success and they're pumping out their recruits like they are now. So it's definitely exciting to see. I don't take credit for it, but definitely want to get as much Rutgers kids here as possible that are from Union.
Mike, tell me about this defense and how you have fit into it so nicely over the last few years and have been one of the biggest playmakers here for Rutgers.
I've been really fortunate. I've been fortunate to have been healthy for so long, to be put in a position to help out the team and to make plays. But this year it's all about doing your job and, not worrying about what the 10 other guys are doing, but worrying about your specific job. And if everybody on that defense can do it, then you're going to see tremendous success. And, no one's ever stopping us from getting better. So we focus on every single thing that we can in practice to improve our game each and every week. And, just being able to go out and practice every day to get better is something that I really look forward to each and every day.
All right, a little fun one for you here, Mike. I always ask all the players, spots on campus. And I finally got last week, offensive library. We got him to finally say, "Are you hungry?" The Fat Sam's place is one of the places that people like. Everyone always says, "I'm not even going to say that. Actually, I'm not even going to tell you yet." What is your favorite spot to go on campus to eat?
Oh, it's ironic because yesterday was our off day, and I'm guilty. I had a fat sandwich from Are You Hungry? But my favorite place has to be Judy's Kitchen over on Hamilton Street. It's about 2 blocks past Are You Hungry? It's this little Spanish restaurant. I get something called the Judy's Wrap. It has grilled chicken, bacon, corn, chipotle mayo, barbecue sauce, and get a nice side with Spanish rice and beans. And it's filled with calories and just tastes so good. I try not to go there as much as I do, but I can't help myself sometimes.
Shooty's Kitchen. That's a different one. This everyone always says Diesel and Dukes. So I'm glad you switched it up. We had 2 weeks in a row now where people have switched it up, Chris.
I love it. I love it. Now, that in mind, we are taping this right before Thanksgiving, and I asked Coach this: what is the Teverdoff go-to for Thanksgiving? Is it the turkey? Is it the sides? What is it?
Oh my gosh, you really put me on the spot with that one. I'll be honest, I'm a big mac and cheese guy. One of my nicknames used to be Mac and Cheese Mike, so my go-to every Thanksgiving is big mac and cheese. I cannot help myself. I fill up half my plate with mac and cheese, and I'll probably get turkey second, but mac and cheese, I got to get there first before it's gone.
See, he knows what's right, Chris. The baked mac and cheese is nothing like baked mac and cheese with the sweet potatoes, even a little bit of ziti or lasagna, and then you put the turkey in it.
Nothing like it.
Killing me. You're just killing me. I can't even wait to get to Thanksgiving dinner at this point. Mike, you've got a few games left here in your senior season. Just tell me about this experience and your ability to just kind of soak up as much as you can right now.
This year is anything than what anyone imagined. No one expected we'd be doing what we're doing right now, considering the circumstances we're in. But, my main goal for this year is just to, be the best player I can and to help turn this team around and just be part of the brotherhood that we're in right now. And if we can keep going in the right direction, I think we're going to really turn this thing around a lot quicker than people think. And, it's not so much what people think, because the only opinions that really matter are the ones in this building, because, we're the ones putting in all the work and, continuing to be on the grind. But, if I can say I left this place better than when I came in, then I can have the peace of mind at night. But I just want to continue getting better, listening to the coaching we're getting and just, soaking up every single moment that I have in this program.
And as a leader, how would you say you would lead this team? By example, or you're really loud, vocal, but how is Mike Tverdov as a leader, as people that look up, younger guys on this team, how they look up to you? How do you go about that?
I definitely like to lead by example. Being vocal is one thing, but actually going out and doing something is really hard, especially when, you're in tough situations, because, people can be loudmouths, they can do whatever they want, but when it really comes down to it, in crunch time, if you're in overtime, if you're exhausted after 12 1-10s, that's where you really see when people stick out and, what they're made of. So I really try to stick out in those tough moments when, everybody's tired or, we're in really tough scenarios. I try to pick guys up and, lead young guys around me, because that's what people did for me when I was younger. And I want to set the same example for young kids too. So I think that's really an important part of being a leader and, setting the example for the next generation coming through here.
Mike, you've been an awesome part of this program, and we enjoy watching you so much. Good luck this week against Purdue, and enjoy Thanksgiving. We appreciate your time so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
Take care.
Mike Tverdov, Rutgers defensive lineman, the senior, joining us this week on the Rutgers Football Podcast. Eric and I will be back to preview the matchup with Purdue when we return right here on the Rutgers Football Podcast, presented by RWJ Barnabas Health, the official healthcare provider of Rutgers Athletics. Rutgers and Purdue, it is a 4 p.m. kick on Saturday. The Scarlet Knights visiting West Lafayette for the first time since joining the Big Ten Conference. Chris Carlin and Eric LeGrand back on the Rutgers Football Podcast. And look, we've talked about it with Coach. We've heard about it a little bit. Rondell Moore is somebody that they're going to have to be concerned with. This is a tremendous playmaker for the Boilermakers.
Tremendous playmaker as indeed. This guy, man, he's special. When he gets the ball in his hands, your heart drops because you don't know what he's going to do, what play he's going to make, which way he's going to go. The biggest thing for the Scarlet Knights, I'm wondering, is do they match up one person on him all game, or do they rely on their defense and have him when he lines up in the slot, then they have their safeties covering him. When he lines up outside, you have your corners covering him. I'm very interested to see how they're gonna play with him wherever he lines up on the field. And the biggest thing after that, Chris, is getting this man on the ground. It's not like I said, once he gets the ball, his yards after contact, or even if you can touch him, it's hard because he's very shifty and he's very dynamic and he can explode at any time. So Skarna is definitely going to have their hands full with a guy like Rondell Moore.
Eric, we talked with Coach about the improvement in the offense this year, and the numbers are just off the charts. I mean, in Big Ten play, obviously this year has been all Big Ten play. They've gone from averaging 6 points a game to almost 30. Where do you look at this offense and see the most improvement and the ability to continue to build on that positive momentum off a game where they put 42 points up against Michigan?
It's got to be the wide receiver position. Look at those guys this year. Bo Pelton, he's up at the top receivers in the country right now. Shaheem Jones having a come-out game versus Michigan. You know, getting those guys involved in the game. Cruikshank making a clutch fourth down catch for the game for a touchdown. Stuff like that we didn't see last year. They didn't look confident. Now these guys, it doesn't matter if they're going deep, they're going across the middle. When the ball is there, you know, okay. It's not like take a deep breath, oh my God, I hope they catch it. It's like they're going to catch it. You know, when that ball goes up in the air, that these guys can make plays and we have confidence in them. And they have confidence in themselves. So the biggest change, I would say, definitely coming from the wide receiver position.
Tell me about the overall confidence of this team. You know, they haven't gotten over the hump, but you can still see that they are playing with a level of confidence late in these games that they believe they're going to find a way to get over the hump.
Yeah, and when they go out there, it's like they line up saying, I don't care who you are. Like, I don't care if Michigan, Ohio State, whatever. We're here to play, and we're going to earn our respect. And you're going to notice when you look at Rutgers on the calendar, it's not like, oh, yeah, that's an easy game now. We're going to get that. You know you're in a dogfight. I remember Coach Schiano used to say that to us when I was playing there. When they look at us on the calendar, you know we're in for a game. We're in for a bloodbath. They're going to give us our all, and that's what you see already with this team through 5 games. You know, through this crazy 2020 year, without any practice and any spring ball and none of that. I know everyone's on the same playing field with that, but you just see the difference in the mentality of these guys when they take their field every Saturday. And it's quite pleasing to see.
Biggest keys in your mind for this game outside of Moore for Rutgers to find a way to get a victory?
Continue to use the momentum from that Michigan game on the offensive side of the ball. Being able to get up and down the field, score a bunch of points, and be able to put your defense, give your defense some rest, and put them in positions where they start, you know, to be a little bit more confident. Defensively, got to be able to bottle up Rondell Moore. Keep him out of the game. Don't let him get into a rhythm and keep him active. And then the biggest thing, honestly, is just the tackling overall. They got to get better getting guys on the ground and being able to get that second man in strip. A lot of guys, we saw the game going for the turnovers, but they weren't securing the tackles, Chris. You got to secure the tackles first, and then the turnovers come from that. So getting guys on the ground and not allowing bigger plays, those 2-3 yard gains turning into 8, 9, 10 yard gains.
Well, don't forget Rutgers and Purdue this coming Saturday. Want to make sure you're there for it on Big Ten Network and also on the RWJ Barnabas Health Rutgers Sports Network. We'll have coverage beginning at 3 o'clock with Eric and Mark Malusis, and then Ray Lucas, myself, Anthony Fusilli will be along shortly thereafter with the call of the game. Looking forward to it. We hope you all have a phenomenal Thanksgiving. To you as well, Eric. Enjoy every last bite, my friend.
Oh, you know I will, Chris. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
You as well. We're going to enjoy it. Rutgers and Purdue on Saturday. We'll see you then. Thanks so much for joining us this week on the Rutgers Football Podcast, presented by RWJ Barnabas Health, the official healthcare provider of Rutgers Athletics.